So the Orange Bowl isn't just another playoff game. It's going to be a referendum on identity. The first ever college football playoff quarterfinal played in the Orange Bowl. It's going to bring together two programs that arrive here by very different paths, carrying very different assumptions with them. On one sideline, you've got Oregon fast, explosive, confident, and built to overwhelm opponents with tempo and spacing. On the other, Texas Tech, disciplined, physical, unapologetically defensive, and built to suffocate games until opponents start questioning their own playbooks. This isn't necessarily Big 12 versus Big 10 as much as it is control versus chaos. And in this matchup, control really does matter. So let's do what we like to do here on the breakdown. Let's start with the market because the market tells us how this game is being framed nationally. Oregon opens up as a 1.5 point favorite. That number doesn't stay there. It climbs to Oregon minus 2.5. In that movement, not accidental. The Ducks just put up 51 points on the board in the opening round of the playoffs. They looked comfortable. They looked confident. They looked dangerous. Meanwhile, Texas Tech hasn't played since early December in the Big 12 championship game, and in betting circles, inactivity often creates doubt. But here's the problem with that framing. It assumes that Oregon's strengths naturally translate to this matchup and that Texas Tech's do not. I think that assumption is where this game flips because Texas Tech isn't just good defensively. They are historically good. The Red Raiders enter this game with the third-ranked scoring defense in the country, allowing just 10.9 points per game. They're first against the run. First, not pretty good, not solid. They are first. That matters because Oregon's offense doesn't run through just one player or one concept. It runs through volume, through depth, through pace, through wearing teams down until mistakes happen. Texas Tech doesn't make those mistakes. And at the center of that defensive identity is Jacob Rodriguez, the Lombardi Award winner, the tone setter for a front seven that dictates how games are played. Tech doesn't react, they impose. They eliminate plan A, then plan B, and then they force offenses into plan C somewhere midway through the second quarter. That's how they've erased teams all season long. Now, let's talk about Oregon's quarterback because Dante Moore he's better than good. He's very good. He's poised, accurate, and comfortable operating at speed. Oregon wants the ball out of his hands quickly. That neutralizes past the pass rush. It stretches the field horizontally before attacking it vertically. That's the blueprint. But here's what Oregon hasn't faced consistently. A secondary that stays disciplined while the front seven wins without help. Texas Tech doesn't need to blitz to create pressure. They don't need to gamble. They don't need to compromise coverage integrity. They can sit in their shells, trust their linebackers, and let the pass rush compress the pocket naturally. That's how you beat tempo, not by racing it, but by refusing to be rushed by it. So the question everyone keeps asking is whether Texas Tech can keep that defensive edge after a 3-week layoff. It's a fair question. But, rest can become rust. Momentum, it really does matter. But I don't think this is a finesse defense that relies on emotion or chaos. This is a system defense built on leverage, alignment, and trust. Those don't disappear with rest. In fact, oftentimes they sharpen. Meanwhile, Oregon's been playing football, real football, college football, playoff football. That's emotional, high output. And that's good until it isn't, because every additional snap adds wear. Every extra possession increases exposure. And when you face a defense that thrives on winning second halves, fatigue shows up in places that really don't make highlight reels. Misfits, late rotations, poor tackling angles, and that's where Texas Tech lives. So you flip the ball to the other side because this game doesn't hinge on Texas Tech scoring 40 points. It hinges on them scoring, quote, enough and controlling everything else. So you got Behren Morton being fully healthy, That changes this offense completely. When Morton has started and finished games this season, Texas Tech hasn't just won, they've dominated. Every one of those wins came by a margin of 21 points or more. And that's not coincidence. Again, we're talking about functionality here. So Morton doesn't need to be spectacular. He needs to be efficient. He needs to protect the football. He needs to convert third downs and then let the run game breathe. And that's exactly what I believe Joey McGuire, the Texas Tech head coach, is going to do. Expect the Red Raiders to shorten this game deliberately. Expect heavy doses of run. Expect long, methodical drives designed to keep Dante Moore on the sideline watching. Time of possession doesn't just, it's not just going to be a stat here, and that's actually going to be a strategy. Texas Tech's going to look for 35 plus minutes of possession time. And if they get there, even if they get to 35 minutes, I believe that this game is effectively over. Because Oregon's defense, while improved, it's not face an offense this patient or this physical. They're built to defend space, not to absorb punishment. And over 4 quarters, that difference compounds. This is also where I think the total matters in this game. You're sitting at 51.5. So the market is still pricing in Oregon's offensive ceiling, but playoff games, especially the quarterfinals, they rarely play to ceilings. They play to nerves, to execution, to field position, and to discipline. Texas Tech has allowed fewer than 17 points in 8 games this season. So they don't give up explosive runs. They don't bust coverages. They don't beat themselves. So Oregon may hit a few shots here. They may win stretches, but sustaining offense against this defense for 4 quarters, that's a different ask entirely. So I believe this game, to me, it feels like a slow squeeze. Early, Oregon, I think, is going to move the ball, maybe even score first. But as the game settles, Texas Tech's defense is going to tighten up. Drives, they're going to get longer. Mistakes are going to become costly. Third and medium turns into punts instead of points. And that's where the spread, under a field goal becomes everything. In games like this, you don't lay points with the team that needs tempo to survive. You take points with the team that dictates structure. Texas Tech does that. They dictate pace. They dictate physicality. They dictate where games are played and where they're not. That's why I believe the pick here isn't just Texas Tech plus the points. I think this is a game where Texas Tech, they win this game outright. They get the upset. Give me a final score prediction. Texas Tech 27, Oregon 23. Obviously, that means we're also coming in just below, just on the under with a point total here. And again, it's not because Oregon isn't talented, not because Dante Moore isn't ready for the moment, but because defense still travels and discipline still matters. And because in playoff football, the team that can slow the game down almost always controls the ending. And if Texas Tech starts fast, let's say they get out to a 7 or 10-0 lead, Oregon's tempo, it won't feel like freedom anymore. It's going to feel like pressure. And that's when this Red Raider defense just does its best work. So on paper, it's an upset, but in reality, I think it's more of a correction. So I got it when the clock hits 0 in Miami. I think we're going to look back and realize that the signs were there the whole time. This game was marketed wrong.